let's talk about Marine Le Pen, the hard right challenger, who is, her party has been topping the polls in France for many, many years, has been banned from standing in the election. She can appeal, but it could well be the case that she won't be able to stand. She's been found guilty of embezzling EU funds, using those to fund her national party, money that was meant to be used in Brussels. Tom, whatever we think of the crime, it seems that she's banged to rights on this, but the punishment seems extraordinarily harsh, and that in and of itself seems like an undue interference in politics.
No, absolutely. I suppose another caveat that's worth applying going into this is that a bit of creative accounting where Brussels is concerned is par for the course. There's various parties, whether you're talking about Eurosceptic parties or even parties of a more pro-EU bent.
Yeah.
The way in which the Brussels gravy train has been used to fund their activities, even outside of the European Parliament and their responsibilities there. It's been a running feature of how politics has operated there. That being said, you do have this particular law, you do have these charges which have been brought. I am more than willing to concede that on that particular basis, she may well be banged to rights. The question is the other bit. The question is, why should a conviction of this nature or any nature, arguably, should lead to someone being immediately banned from running for office for 5 years? It's something that even the appeal is beginning almost immediately. But given how long that will take to get through the French courts, it's incredibly unlikely that she'll be able to clear her name in any meaningful sense to actually run for the presidency in 2027. And when this happens in the context of Le Pen leading in various polls at the moment, when that happens in the context of increasing fury with the establishment as embodied by Emmanuel Macron, another quite kingly figure in many respects, this is going to look to many people like a stitch up. It's going to look to many people in France as part and parcel of this trend that we see across Europe, which is to quite brazenly take populist challenges to the establishment, whether you like them or dislike them, have criticism or not, out of the field. We saw that in Romania with the presidential elections, first of all being annulled by the Supreme Court, and then the winner of that first round, Calin Georgescu, being completely banned from standing when the elections are rerun. In Germany, there are recurrent conversations about whether or not the AfD, which is now essentially the main party of opposition, the second largest party in the Bundestag, whether or not that should be banned outright.
Yeah.
These people are so keen on defending democracy, they seem to think they should kill it themselves. Like, that's the best way to deal with this particular problem. It's going to look incredibly fishy to many people. And I think you can separate out the question of, on the letter of the law, may well should be guilty. I'm not an expert in French law, but that may well be the case. Should you have a law which mandates that people should have democratic choices denied to them?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. And I think the French people, as in any European public or any democratic nation around the world, these citizens are up to the task of casting their own judgment on Le Pen, on her policies, on her party, and also whether or not her crimes, as they've now been passed through court, disqualify her. That's their decision to make. It's not the decision of judges, in my view. And
Candice, as Tom was alluding to, this is part of a broader trend. If it were just one example, you could chalk it up to simply, well, the law is working as it should. There's a reason people are suspicious that there's something more to this because of the broader trend.
Exactly. I think it's here, it's in the US, it's all over. Whenever you get these populist movements, you start seeing unelected branches of the state trying to quash them in some way. And I don't think people are just starting to get suspicious of what they deem to be judicial overreach. For instance, whether a judge should decide whether someone should run in an election or not. I think you're seeing it with things like quangos, for instance. Look at the racialized sentencing guidelines that the Sentencing Council tried to bring in this week that they reversed on.
In the UK.
You look at Donald Trump in the US, what was perceived to be lawfare against him. Although, interestingly enough, as some people have pointed out, it can actually be quite a powerful campaigning tool for those people. Look at Donald Trump. That image of his mugshot, it now hangs in the Oval Office. It became a powerful symbol for him on his campaign. So, for Marine Le Pen, she could actually use this. This could actually be good for her in some ways.
Yeah, and there were attempts to remove Donald Trump from the ballot as well. It's worth remembering, although those were themselves overturned in court. Tom, is there anything you want to add?
Well, I think on the question of unintended consequences is a particularly interesting one here when you talk about France, because the fact that over many years since Marine Le Pen took over from her father, Jean-Marie Le Pen, who was a explicit anti-Semite, racist, and so on, there has been this attempt to sort of detoxify the party. There's still a kind of sizable section of the electorate, for obvious reasons, can never almost bring themselves to vote for a Le Pen. They might not buy the detoxification full stop, but there's that particular barrier that they would struggle to get over. You do wonder whether or not taking her off the ballot and ushering, whether it's Jordan Bardella or someone else, who is seen as a bit of an unknown quantity, or at least it's sufficiently inexperienced that it would be a gamble, whether or not this could end up helping them to a certain extent. So, even if you're coming from the perspective of you don't like the National Rally and what they stand for, to engage in this, it can create precisely the sort of backlash that you've been talking about. We certainly saw that with Donald Trump, and it might have a particular significance in a country where, even though there are many voters who are furious with the establishment, still can't quite bring themselves to vote for someone with that surname.
Yeah. So
it could be interesting to see how this plays out.
And it's not just one person. I mean, I think the MAGA movement is bigger than Donald Trump now. And I think with Marine Le Pen, it's bigger than Marine Le Pen. It's not just one individual. These movements have massive momentum.
Well, yeah, and the AFD is a case in point where they have all of the sort of public figures are either obnoxious or actually quite bland. In the case of Alice Weidel, no one would say that she's particularly charismatic. They're reacting to the weakness of the centre, the failures of the establishment a lot of the time, more than any...
And the lack of insurgent alternatives elsewhere. It's become the sort of only game in town on a lot of these issues. The only people who are willing to, hit back against the establishment consensus on immigration, greenism, technocracy, what have you, it's fallen to those parties for all kinds of historical reasons that we could talk about. Not least the left abandoning many of these kind of more anti-establishment causes. But yeah, fascinating to see how it will play out.